In 2006, one of the cars featured on Pimp My Ride caught fire on the highway. 5 years after MTV's cameras stopped rolling, the wiring the crew had installed started smoking, and the entire vehicle burned down. Another contestant later revealed that his steering wheel had completely detached while driving. Despite knowing the cars weren't always safe, MTV filmed the reveals anyway, and made contestants sign contracts that kept them from speaking out. For years, no one said a word. Now, the truth about what really happened behind the scenes is finally coming out. By the early 2000s, MTV was struggling. Music videos no longer held viewers' attention, and reality TV was cheaper to produce and brought in better ratings. In March 2004, the network launched Pimp My Ride, a flashy, feel-good show that promised to transform broken-down cars into dream machines. It costs only about $15,000 to $20,000 per episode, cheap compared to scripted shows or music licensing. The concept was simple and effective. Take a struggling young person with an old car and give them something wild and new. It appealed to viewers between 18 and 34, especially those who could relate to not having much money. Ratings skyrocketed, and the show became a phenomenon. The face of the show was the rapper Exhibit. He admitted he didn't actually work on the cars, his job was to drop them off and pick them up, but his cool, confident image was exactly what MTV wanted. The real work was done by West Coast Customs, a California shop that agreed to MTV's demands for fast turnarounds, big visuals, and low costs. Corners were cut everywhere. Many exhaust pipes were fake, engines made pre-recorded noises, and safety was often ignored. Some cars didn't even have mufflers replaced, while others got decorative flamethrowers that could never pass inspection. Contestants were often young and broke. One of them, 19-year-old Christina Lenda, cared for her elderly grandmother and drove a barely functional Honda Civic. MTV gave participants like her $2,000 for car rentals during filming, but many were too young to rent from major companies and had to rely on shady rental lots. Some never got reimbursed. Cars were taken away for 6 or 7 months, leaving contestants stranded while MTV filmed and profited. The mechanics often ignored actual problems. Engines and transmissions went untouched while flashy lights, paint, and chrome were added to make the vehicles look impressive on camera. One contestant later described his pimped car as a polished turd. It looked amazing but barely ran. Behind the cheerful exterior, the production was manipulative. MTV routinely faked scenes and details. Contestants who were too old were listed as younger, and producers rented houses for filming to make the reveals look grander. Participants were told to redo their reactions multiple times until they reached what producers called apes hit-level excitement. Crew members pressured them to be louder and more dramatic, even intimidating them into reshoots. Jake Glazier, a contestant from season 4, said that when his reaction wasn't enthusiastic enough, a large crew member known as Big Dane pulled him aside and made it clear he needed to perform better for the cameras. The show targeted people who were struggling financially, posting flyers at community colleges and low-income neighborhoods. Once contestants were chosen, MTV dragged filming out for months. That $2,000 rental budget often ran out in weeks, and some participants had to pay out of pocket to keep up appearances. Many said they were left broke or in debt while MTV aired their episodes and made millions. The contracts they signed gave MTV full control. Contestants couldn't sue, criticize the show, or even tell the truth about what happened. When people spoke up, they were threatened with cease and desist letters. MTV also manufactured personal storylines. Producers looked for embarrassing or emotional angles, often exaggerating or inventing details. Jake Glazier said they pressured him to break up with his girlfriend for a better story arc. Another contestant, Seth Martino, was mocked for his weight. Producers dumped bags of candy into his car and installed a cotton candy machine in the trunk just to make fun of him on TV. He said the experience felt cruel and humiliating. They even threw cigarette butts into Jake's car to make his grandmother look like a smoker, though she never was. Many cars that appeared transformed on screen were actually unsafe. Weighty additions like hydraulics, sound systems, and TV screens were installed without upgrading brakes or suspension. Contestants described their cars as sluggish, unstable, and dangerous. Some electronics overheated, wires smoked, and fuses blew. Seth said his seat lights became so hot they could cause burns. Justin Daringer, whose car famously caught fire years later, blamed MTV's faulty electrical work. Even the iconic surprise moment when Exhibit knocked on contestants' doors was staged. The homes weren't theirs. MTV rented them for filming. Contestants were told to wait inside and pretend to be shocked when Exhibit arrived. Some said they had to perform their reactions 10 times before even seeing their car. If real family members couldn't make it, actors were hired to play them. Everything from emotions to relationships was carefully scripted. When cameras stopped rolling, the modifications often disappeared. Justin's champagne dispenser and drive-in theater setup were removed immediately after filming. Producers admitted they installed features that looked good on TV, but were impractical or illegal on the road. Co-producer Larry Hochberg later said they'd use oversized rims for filming, and then swap them out for smaller ones later. The cars were held for months, and contestants had to fend for themselves. Seth, who was under 21, had to rent from a sketchy local company that required him to pay in person every month. It took him 2 years to get reimbursed. MTV, meanwhile, continued profiting off the show, selling DVDs, toys, and video games. Contestants weren't paid for their appearances and were even hit with tax bills because the IRS counted the car modifications as gifts. Some had to sell their cars just to pay those taxes. Exhibit himself didn't fare much better. Despite being the face of the show, he was paid only about $5,000 per episode and never received the royalties he was promised. Viacom even removed his music from the DVD versions to avoid paying him. In later interviews, he admitted the show damaged his music career. He couldn't tour or release albums while filming, and soon he was recognized more by soccer moms than by hip-hop fans. It all of a sudden became bigger than the music, he said. The global success of Pimp My Ride, with spin-offs in the UK, Brazil, and beyond, made millions for MTV but left its stars behind. Exhibit said he had no ownership in the brand despite his image being everywhere. When he asked for $1 million to continue hosting, MTV replaced him for an episode, saying, "Anyone with braids can do what Exhibit does." The remark summed up how little they valued him or the contestants who helped make the show famous. Over the years, the truth has surfaced piece by piece through interviews and online discussions. Contestants have shared stories of cars breaking down days after filming, fake gadgets controlled by off-screen operators, and emotional manipulation behind the camera. Many described feeling exploited, used for entertainment and discarded afterward.